Welcome back to Capital Budgeting. In this segment, we're going to look at one of the most important elements of capital budgeting and cornerstone of finance, and that is net present value. In the past, we've talked about present value. Here we're talking about net present value. What we mean by net present value, it's the present value of the cash inflows minus the cash outflows. It's the net. Net means after you subtract out junk. So I want to take the present value of all future cash flows, in and out. When comparing this to the payback period, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the entire life of the project. We're not going to just stop at an arbitrary time like 3 or 4 years. We're going to look at the life of the project. And when we look at taking the present value, what we want to use is the cost of capital, K, the hurdle rate. We're not going to use the required rate of return like we've talked about before, but in a sense, the cost of capital is our required rate of return. It's the required rate of return we need to make on a project. So, and let's think about that. It includes our risk. It includes the time value of money. All these things are included in that. So what does it mean when we take the present value? We'll come back to that in a second. So when you look at future outflows or inflows of money, we can take the net present value of those. Now the equation here shows net present value is equal to the present value of the benefits minus the present value of the costs. It might be simpler in practice to just take in each given year the benefits minus the costs and take the present value of the difference. Either way works. But what the net present value tells you, and this is what's so important, it shows you the value of the project today. What's this project worth? If we go back to the example of winning the lottery, I have a choice of cash value or the annuity. The cash value is the value of that annuity right now. Well, in the same way, the net present value shows us the value of that project. How much is that project worth to us today? And the criteria for undertaking a project is relatively simple. If the net present value is greater than 0, we do the project. It makes money for us. Counting all the discounting, taking the present value, counting all the cash flows, if the net present value is greater than 0, it should be a go. Remember when we looked at the payback period, it was just did we get our money back within the required payback period. Here, we have nothing to do. We don't look at payback periods. We don't look at anything. Is the net present value greater than 0? If it is, we do the project. Now, another thing that we can calculate using the net present value, or similar concept, is the Profitability Index. And what we do is we just take the present value of the future cash flows. Those are the money coming in. That's all we look at is the money coming in, divided by the initial outlay. In other words, the cost in the first year. And now it's simple. We do the project if that profitability index is greater than 1. In other words, the money in the future is worth more than the money we pay out today. Very similar to the net present value. The problem is it uses only the initial outlay. Okay? It really doesn't look at, if in the third and the fourth year I'm having to spend more money. This doesn't take it into account. Again, you could take it into account if in each given year you subtract the cash outflows from the cash inflows. But in its basic form, it's just future cash flows in divided by the initial outlay. We'll work a couple of these problems in Excel in another video. But this is an important concept to know. The net present value, it's extremely important. It can be used in a lot of different contexts.